Welcome, if you will, please, extraordinary drummer Herman Matthews. Hello, sir.
Howdy.
Welcome to the Cheron Moore Show, the segment I call Extraordinary Drummers.
Well, thank you for having me.
Well, welcome back to the Cheron Moore Show. As you can see, I'm here today with my dear friend and extraordinary drummer, Herman Matthews. Come on, man. Hello.
Look out, man. It's
Hello.
great seeing you. Wonderful seeing you.
First of all, to get your time.
Yeah.
Thank you for cutting the spot in for us.
Well, you know the deal. I'm just trying to make a living here in L.A. So, you know.
It is an honor. We, of course, I've kept up with you from way back when, and your body of work reads like, you know, walking into a, as we used to say, a record store back in the day and just picking out artists.
Right. Well, you know, like I said, it's like I say, trying to make a living and trying to do the thing that we're supposed to be doing, which is, you know, spreading the word, if you will.
On the drums.
There you go.
Your resume, and I don't want to talk about the diversification on there, the different styles, but I want to talk about the who's who. Isley Brothers, Tower Power, I mean, just to name a few.
We met actually on the Isley Brothers, on an Isley Brothers tour. We were flying to Japan, I think, and I can't think of who you were working with.
You remember that?
I do remember that.
No, you don't
Yes, I do
remember
remember
that.
Yes.
That was early 90s.
That's right.
I was working, I won't say his name, but he was a former member, when you start doing that stuff, he was a former member of the group Guy.
Okay.
And I remember you guys, I remember that because we also ran into some of the Earth, Wind & Fire guys.
Right,
too.
right.
Wow, and I remember you was doing Isley Brothers in the main room,
Right,
and I think we were in the disco.
But
You remember that?
I remember that, and also what I truly remember, you know, flying over there at that time.
Wow.
We kind of had an empty plane. It wasn't like it was full. You know, it was just the three, or it was two acts with some people around, and it just worked out that way.
How did you remember that? I don't remember that. I did not remember
Well,
that.
Cheron, you're very hard to forget.
I told you I was going to pay you back, Herbert. I told you, I promise you. I just want to pull up my notes here. I don't usually pull out notes and stuff, but in this case, I really need to, because I really want to name off some of these people that oh, he's going to get shy on me.
Yeah.
I just want to name you off some of the people, and then we're going to talk a little bit about his history. Kenny Loggins, Tower Power, the Isley Brothers, Kurt Whalum, George Duke, my favorite, Bob James, Westchester Lady, that's the best record ever written.
Great.
Bob James, Tom Jones, look at the diversification. Hugh, now how do you say Hugh's last name? Laurie, the actor.
Yes.
I saw you. I saw you do a television job with him.
Yeah.
And I tell you, I thought you would need a Thomas guy for that song, man. That song moved. I was like this. Let me just give you a few more before I ask a few questions about these. Like I said, Tom Jones, Patty Austin, Chris Bodie.
Right.
That must have been fun. James Ingram, Boney James.
Right.
We got to talk about that. He's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Luther Vandross.
Right.
No.
Right.
Luther Vandross, Patty Austin, James. I mean, it just goes on. Sheryl Crow, Chaka Khan. I mean, really? Come on. Let me just give you one or two. Maxie Priest, Diane Reeves.
Right, and a lot of, now, and I don't want to give the impression that these are all people that I toured with them all, but at one time or another, I had the opportunity of working with them, whether it be on a TV show, or whether it be a concert, or whether I was in the house band, and they were artists that were on there. Now, I did tour with, you know, pretty much everyone that you mentioned, you know, at the beginning of that list, and I spent a lot of years with Tom Jones. I was there for 7.5 years. Hugh, Laurie, I did 2 years with him. Kenny Loggins, I was there off and on for a decade.
This is it.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah. So I mean, so yes, time has definitely been spent. Sheryl Crow, unfortunately, I didn't tour with her, although I would love to tour with Sheryl Crow. But I had the opportunity of working with her at a place called At My Place, if you remember that club.
I do.
In what was it?
I do
It's on
remember.
Wilshire, and then Santa Monica in that area.
Yeah.
But it was like the premier, showcase room for a long time for a lot of people. So and that's where I worked with Sheryl Crow. So I mean, once again, just a drummer trying to make a living.
Take me back to. Let me set my notes here. I never used notes. I never did. And when I saw your resume, I said, I'm not trying to remember all these credits. I want to get busted. I want to let people see. This guy, you're going to need some paper, okay? Take me all the way back, if you will. Were you going to say something?
No.
Take me back. You're from Houston?
Yes.
Take me back to Houston, and how did it all start? What age were you, and how did you get interested in drums?
Wow. I started playing drums or wanting to play drums, I guess, 6, 7 years old. Like most of us, right? No? I was watching, as a kid, the Lawrence Welk show and pointed that I wanted to play drums. And I got a snare drum for Christmas. And it kind of sort of all took from there. I took music in elementary school. Matter of fact, my schooling, I took all music classes. And I know that's sort of rare these days. That doesn't really happen, right?
We got no money for that stuff.
I know, right? I literally in the first grade, I was, playing Wipeout, if you remember the song.
Wow.
On the table. And my teacher, day after day hearing that, she would stop me. But finally one day she said, "Follow me." Got up, I followed her thinking that I was in trouble, and she introduced me to Bob Hester, who was the elementary school band director in Houston, Texas at Durkee Elementary School, and who later on became like a union rep, for the Houston Union. And so he knew me from that, and literally on through, I guess, 16 years old when I finally joined the union, he came into a club seeing me play with all of these union musicians and saying, "It's about time that you join the union."
Tell me about in that same format or thought, your pocket, some guys have large notes, like really big notes.
Right.
You're playing this for about this tall, it's about this wide, and as tight as I can't say the word.
Right.
Where did that come from, Herman?
Well, I remember early on reading some stuff about drummers in the studio. Chris Parker, Jeff Porcaro, Steve Gadd, Harvey Mason. These are the guys, those are the guys I was really listening to on records. Now, Al Jackson, yes, and Earl Palmer, yes, but I was just listening to them because I was young and just listening to their style of play. But when it came to EQing yourself when playing records, in other words, the hi-hat not being too loud, the snare drum, of course, having a powerful backbeat, I'm one of those drummers that plays from the bottom up. So my foot is a little stronger than everything else. The foot is predominant. Not busy, but just...
Yeah.
So, excuse me, the hi-hat, I don't want it to be out front, volume-wise. So, I play with big sticks already, so I let the stick do the work. But the whole thing of just the stick or the hi-hat pattern complementing what's going on with the rest of the kit. Now I moved to LA and I found that the snare drum was a little hotter than I thought. So strong backbeat, strong foot foundation, light hi-hat. That's what I strive for. play Sabian cymbals, by the way.
Hear that, Andy?
DW drums as well. Yeah, drum workshop. Yeah. Innovative percussion drumsticks. Okay,
Sure.
Remo heads. Okay,
know all those guys.
right.
Love them. Chris and those guys. We're going to take 5 here.
Take 5.
And when we come back, we're going to go back to Houston and talk a little bit about Houston. So you making that funk, though. You took the swing out. You like,
well, you can't hear the swing on all this.
I got to talk to you about jazz, too.
Sure.
But when we come back, we'll go back to Houston, and then I want to talk a little bit about some of the artists he played, and then making the move from Houston to Los Angeles. That was really interesting. So we'll be right back here on the Cheron Moore Show. Take me back to Houston. How'd you get from Houston to Los Angeles?
1979, I'm playing at the high school for the Performing and Visual Arts. And it had an outstanding music department. It was an outstanding school. You are watching people who are acting today who are from that school. That lasted for a lot of years, right up until the oil dropped out of the whole Texas.
Herman, we was talking about you getting to LA, and you said in Houston, there was a certain time when the oil, the bottom fell out.
And this is about 1987, around that time. I made the decision that I was going to move to Los Angeles. 3 days later, I get a call from Kirk Whalum. And he says, hey Herman, how you doing? What's happening here? He says, look, I want to ask you if you would be interested in being in my band. He says, the only catch is you have to move to LA. So I said, well, let me think about it. Sure. That's about how fast it took for me to say yes. Because once again, 3 days before that, I was thinking of moving to Los Angeles. And so that's basically how it all happened. In 1988, I moved to Los Angeles, and the date that I had set up to move to Los Angeles, Whalum had like 2 weeks booked work in order to make that, that happen. So within that 2 weeks, I moved to Los Angeles. And I guess it really doesn't stop there, because literally the day I got into Los Angeles, the second night I was here, I played 2 nights, starting 2 nights, at the Baked Potato with Kirk Whalum. And those 2 nights kind of sort of paved the way for me with Bob James. It hooked up an Al Jarreau audition, and also the Kenny Loggins gig, basically. And it all came from that night.
When you was leaving Kirk Whalum, awesome horn player, I used to see him on 6th Street at Baxter's back in the day.
Yeah.
So you went right to the Kenny Loggins gig after that?
Yeah.
Okay.
So God, I guess how it all really started out. Okay, so take it from those 2 nights working at the Baked Potato, working with Kirk Whalum and opening for people and doing things. Bob James was looking for a drummer. And so Bob James, Kirk Whalum worked with Bob James at the time as well.
Yeah, he was a great studio guy too.
And so when Bob was looking for a drummer, Kirk Whalum said, well, my drummer would be interested in playing with him. And then Doc Leonard Gibbs, the percussionist, was at that gig at the Baked Potato. And he calls up Bob and says, hey man, I just heard this young man, and I know you're looking for a drummer, because Doc Gibbs played with Bob James as well. And he says, I think I may have found your drummer. So, as far as Bob James is concerned, it's 2 different guys, and they were talking about the same cat. So, I had the opportunity of working with Bob James, and it didn't interfere with working with Kirk Whalum, because Kirk Whalum was also working with Bob James. But I get a call, and it's because of Kirk Whalum. Kirk is doing a session with George Duke, and the bassist Freddie Washington walks in and says, do you guys know any drummers that can play R&B and folk and rock? And George started naming, Chester Thompson and Vinnie Colaiuta, and I mean, just naming all of the cats, right? And Kirk Whalum says, what about Herman Matthews? So it's really, Kirk Whalum was the one who put the seed in, who started the whole thing. And Freddie said, oh yeah, I just saw Herman play with Bob James at Universal. And so I got a phone call from Kenny Loggins about 2 or 3 days later. And I went down and auditioned.
Herman, I gotta ask this question because every drummer watching this is gonna say, Cheron, you better ask that question. It sounds, and of course you did in your own way. Most of us came to this town, we had to grind it out. I mean, we had to grind it out and make a name for ourselves. It's not like you came here and hit the ground running.
Once again, it was the right time. I was in the right place in the right time. I always say I was lucky, fortunate, and blessed. Well, this business that we've chosen, the music business, is more about skill, or it's more than skill. There's luck involved as well. It's being in the right place at the right time. So, think lucky.
There's 2 terms or 2 names that you've become kind of known by. One is the groove guy. How did that come about?
that came about with Kirk Whalum, actually, and the kind of band that he had. And once again, it was sort of a modern day Crusaders, if you will. All of us being from Houston and growing up with that kind of music. But there was a roadie or a tech or somebody working with the Rippingtons, or maybe it was somebody who was just picking up their gear. And when someone said the name Herman Matthews, and the guy said, he said he was playing with Kirk Whalum, and he said, oh yeah, the groove guy.
They also termed you the Hermanator. Tell me about of course, Herman coming from Herman, your first name, the Hermanator, as in Arnold Schwarzenegger. Is that right? Okay, good.
Right. Richard Marx, he used to always introduce me one of 2 ways, and he would and back then you got to understand, this is when Hootie and the Blowfish was huge.
Yeah,
right? And so I've been mistaken for Darius.
I can see that. I
used to have the goatee. I used to wear, all the time. I would wear, the baseball cap. I have a flannel shirt on, So, I mean, literally, I would get bumped up on planes because they thought I was Hootie. I would sign autographs because literally, they would say, we love your music and we play your music in our church choir. And I was like, you think I'm Darius Rucker, right? And I says, my name is Herman Matthews. And they said, would you please sign that? I mean, they wouldn't even hear me saying. So Richard Marx would always say, ladies and gentlemen on drums, Hootie, and then he would say, oh, this is my buddy, the Hermanator, Herman Matthews, So that's kind of sort of the way it started. And then when I got with Tower of Power, Emilio Castillo would introduce me as the Hermanator.
I got to talk about Tower of Power.
Yeah, man.
I cannot let that go.
Come on, man.
I was going to wait till I come in the next shot with you, but take me all the way back to the call. How did the situation come about and the phone call?
Once again, right place, right time. Rocco was kind of sort of the guy who went to Emilio or went to the guys and said, there's a guy I'm playing with named Herman Matthews who gets it, who understands the bump, who understands the groove of Tower of Power. Says, you might want to get this guy. He's busy, but you might want to get him,
We're back with my dear friend Herman Matthews, a drummer extraordinaire. He's pointing at me. And, you know, a lot of times I do these shows with just the most awesome drummers who are also my friends. Believe me, I'm still like a kid in a candy store.
Hey,
I'm still like, wow. Herman, let me start it this way before I go to other artists you play with. You've been a blessing in my life.
Oh.
You really, now I'm gonna get saucy, right? When I first came to this town, I want you all to know, this is the guy that extended, you know, some work to me and gave me some rules and laws of the land, and he was just so kind to me back then. I got here in '89. I find that come 2 other times prior to that, but I eventually stayed when I came to '89.
Yeah.
And you were just so kind to me back then, man.
Come on.
You were kind to me, and throughout that.
You know, moving to LA is one of those places. I mean, it's one of those. It's not an easy thing to do, to pick up your life and say, boom, let's do something different, or let's land somewhere and just make it happen. So, you know, whatever help that can be extended.
Let me ask you about Tom Jones.
Yeah.
How the heck did you get to from Tower Power eventually to a Tom Jones, and what was that job like?
Once again,
Uh-oh.
right place, right time. That whole thing happened. I did a gig with a wonderful keyboardist who was working with Tom Jones at the time, Frank Strauss. And I was doing a gig with him at Spaghettini, right? You know, in Orange County. Orange County, Seal Beach, Orange County. Before the big stage. So anyway, before they moved the big stage. But so Frank, what are you up to? He says, oh man, you know, out with Tom Jones, and we're auditioning drummers, you know. And I was like, really? So I said, well, have you found anyone yet? I mean, what's going on? And he was like, well, no, not yet. And I said, man, I want to audition. Anyways, I got a chance to go in and audition. I don't think there was any preparation. You know, there was only. I do remember a left-handed drummer had did the audition right before me. I wasn't on the list, but they let me in, and I just switched it around to where the snare drum, hi-hat were on the other side, and everything else was the same. And I went in and auditioned, and by the time I got home, I had a phone call that said, "You got the gig."
What did you do after Tom Jones and all your credits?
Literally, right after Tom Jones. I had the opportunity to go out on the road with Taj Mahal and Bonnie Raitt.
Ooh.
And so...
You just can't get no names, right?
I know. And not that I'm trying to name drop, it's just that... You know,
that's
so I did some TV work, you know, I did the promo for the tour.
Okay.
Subbing for Tony Bronico.
Yeah.
My baby called me Katie, left the mule right.
So I have a peanut brittle business.
Let me ask you about, in all the busyness and entrepreneurship, you even still make time to play at church.
Oh wow!
Tell me about the church you play at, the pastor.
Right.
What is your role? I of course you're the drummer.
Well, Rise Christian Center, Pastor Ron Taylor,
Yeah.
and Gina Taylor.
Yes.
It's a wonderful church and a wonderful opportunity because the band has always been great.
Now I gotta talk to you about this before I let you go. I got another note here.
Okay.
That I want to hear about this. This one gonna mess you up. You see, this gonna mess you up. Where are you? Here it is. You had a debut CD.
Yeah.
Your debut CD.
Right.
What was the name of it?
Home at Last.
Home at Last.
Right.
Yeah.
And the record, there are songs from that have been in a movie and that has been on a TV show, and so it's kind of done what it's supposed to do.
Wow.
So I'm thankful.
Yes. Before I let you go, would you, out in camera land there, would you give a word of parting and a word of advice or to the young drummers coming up? They always want to know and want to hear.
As I've always said, just knowledge is important. So take it in, drink it. I mean, listen to as many drummers as you can listen to. Listen to as many different kinds of music as you can listen to. Listen and respect your elders. Those before you. It's out there for you. I mean, I can't say enough that there's some incredible musicians that are out there. But I mean, but know your art, know your practice, know what's going on. The natural gift that you have, it takes more than that. You dig? So keep doing what you're doing, and and blessings to it all.
You heard that? Heard it from the master, okay? Thank you.
Cheron, come on, man.
Thank you, brother.
All right, man.
Thank you for having an extraordinary drummer, the Cheron Moore Show.
Thank you for having me.
And I just really appreciate it. I know you're a busy guy. It's tough to get you on the phone, never mind to get a sit down with you.
Right. Well,
And
we made it happen.
Yes. And thank you for what you've been in my life.
Oh,
I truly
thank you.
mean that.
Thank you.
How about it? Herman Matthews, here on the Cheron Moore Show, extraordinary drummer. Thank you, brother.
Thank you.
Would you help me wave to everybody bye-bye? To
Take
see
care
you
now.
again. Bye now. Bye-bye.